Hello everyone, welcome back to the Grassroots Football Project. Today I'm joined by the man I answer to quite a few times, Mr. Mike Hanaway. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, very well, thank you. Desperate need of a haircut and some football, but other than that, I'm good.
Certainly, same here. And just for the viewers at home that don't know who you are, could you just explain a little bit about what you do?
So I've got a couple of roles. So I'm chairman of a club called Footscray Lions. I also coach there, coach the ladies team and a couple of the younger teams as well. But I'm also secretary of the Kent Girls and Ladies Football League, which is where we bumped into each other, no doubt.
Yep, certainly. Good stuff. Okay, we'll have loads of time to talk about all that stuff. But firstly, let's get straight into it. What is your earliest memories of football? What brought you into the sport?
Classic, really. My dad took me to games when I was really young.
Yeah.
My grandparents used to live up near Crystal Palace.
Okay.
So when he was visiting the in-laws, he decided to skip that and take his boy down to football.
Yeah.
So he could have made the effort and gone somewhere better like Chelsea or somewhere, but he took me to Palace, burdened me with being a Palace supporter all my life, obviously, ups and downs. But yeah, that's the earliest one, being a little kid, being dragged about by my dad and his mates down to football on a Saturday afternoon, standing on the terraces in the cold rain,
yeah,
getting a bar of chocolate or a pie if I was lucky.
Oh, nice, good stuff. And then when was your sort of first experiences with playing football?
Yeah, classic stuff. Primary school playground,
Yeah.
Fringes of the school team occasionally if I was lucky at primary school, and then school stuff just your mates. Literally in those days, every spare time we got out of school was just walk down to the field down the end of my mum's road, and there'd be loads of kids hanging about, and it's just like play football all day till it got dark.
Yeah. And did you end up playing for many teams? Did you get quite far in your little playing career? Or
not great. I played a lot of sort of grassroots football. Played for a club called Kingfisher over in Welling.
Okay.
Around when I was young. Just nothing spectacular, but loved it. So yeah, played a lot of football. Okay. And obviously into my 20s and 30s, I was playing Saturday and Sunday. Pub team, and then playing for the work team on Sundays. So yeah.
Oh, nice.
Played a lot, but never played very well.
No, as long as you're enjoying it, that's the main thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
So been playing just for the fun of it with like you said, your work mates, pub mates, whatever. What was it that got you into coaching and you thought, you know what, I could have a go at this?
Yeah, again, real stereotype classic thing. My kids came along, so I've got a son and a daughter. My boy was 6 years old and wanted to play football, so we picked a club. A friend of his at school had heard about a club called Footscray Lions, so he literally wandered down there with your 6-year-old. Most of the parents then run away. Yeah. I was one of the two or three that stood there and watched. And obviously, if you stand around on the sidelines long enough, someone then comes and asks you to help. And then if you make a mistake of saying yes, then 20 years later, you're running leagues and clubs.
Yeah. And what was that like, that first experience? Was you a bit nervous when you first got asked about it, or was you?
Yeah, I mean, it was obviously quite a long time ago, and it was real classic dad stuff. There wasn't anything like there is now for sort of parents to get involved. I mean, hopefully most of the clubs are really good. Our club's good. If you do volunteer now, then you do your level 1, you do your safeguarding, you do your first aid, you get so much stuff online that you can look at, all over Twitter and everything, and you got other coaches helping you. There's so much resource. Back then it was just what you knew about football, and here's a bunch of kids, on with it. So it was a little bit daunting at the beginning, but luckily we teamed up with a couple of other dads as well, and we sort of ran it together. And ultimately, when it's your own kids playing, it's good fun.
Yeah. And you still coach now?
Yep, still coaching now. I'm coaching a ladies team, which is kind of the team that's carried on from when my daughter first started playing when she was in primary school. Okay. So we've got loads of different players than we had right at the beginning, but we've still got 2 or 3 that's played all the way through, which is brilliant. But yes, I'm coaching on a Thursday night with them, and I still do sort of Saturday clubs and younger ones with the club on a Saturday morning, under 6s and under 10 girls. So yeah, still doing lots of coaching, which is brilliant. That's the best part of it, to be honest with you. That's what I love most.
Yeah.
So the admin side is interesting and it's good, but nothing beats a cold Thursday night at Hurstmere School doing a bit of coaching.
Definitely. One of the things you spoke about is obviously a subject that you and I are both very passionate about, and that's keeping girls sort of specifically in the sport from when they were younger straight up into adults. What was that like getting? So you talked about some of them girls that were there from the start and are still there now. Was it hard to convince them, or did they naturally just wanted to keep going and keep playing?
Yeah, I mean, some of them kept playing. I mean, obviously, you get to this, there's a stage when they get into that sort of 13, 14, when some of them stop doing all sorts of sports, regardless of whether it's football or not. And you also get a natural sort of drop between grassroots football and ladies football.
Yeah.
In that they go to university, they get jobs, their lives change dramatically. So the ones that even make it through sort of to under 18s, then in that year when they go off to uni or they get a job or whatever, they tend not to go into ladies football, particularly if your grassroots club hasn't got a ladies team.
Yeah.
If the under 18s is the max or under 16s is the maximum that your grassroots club's got, then you lose those players. Then we were lucky that we got to under 18s with a mixture of players that were in the Footscray Lions under 16 and under 18s team, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So we had another team coming up behind that sort of like then merged into an 18s. And then we were coming towards the end of that season, and they came to us effectively and said, we want to carry on playing. Footscray never had a ladies team before, so it was a couple of years ago. And they said, is there a league we can enter? So I knew a couple of people anyway. And we started a ladies team because they wanted to. So, I mean, we were lucky in that phrase. But
yeah.
And what we found as well was because over the years, a lot of parents, and you obviously keep in touch with a lot of players. We'd had a few players that have gone off to Charlton and Millwall, done really well for themselves. And a lot of those are now back in our ladies team.
Yeah.
You get a contact saying, "No, I hear you started a ladies team again. I haven't played football for 2 or 3 years. Charlton let me, I left Charlton when I was 14 or 15, or I stopped playing grassroots football when I was 16. Actually, you know what? Now I'm 21, 22. I quite fancy doing it again." And we've now got a sort of group of 18 or 20 girls, ladies, should we call them.
Yeah.
It's good. We've got a good squad, and we're never really short of on match days at the moment. So touch wood, it's been really, really good success.
No, brilliant. And we spoke, like you touched on it briefly, about sort of the things that carry these girls away from staying in the sport.
Yeah.
Do you think the reason that maybe they're not quite staying enough is because there isn't enough incentive and there's not enough opportunities for them, or do you think it's just a matter of it's natural?
Yeah, I think it's a mixture of both, because you'll find it with the boys as well. When some boys get to 15, 16, and suddenly other things come into their lives and they stop playing football as well. But if your boys team folds because half of your team are not playing anymore, then there's a million other boys teams that you can go and join if you want to carry on.
Yeah.
So we do see a lot of girls that drop out of football almost because their team folds as well.
Yeah.
So you get that little cascade effect. So a team gets to 15s or 16s, 2 or 3 of them drop out, and suddenly you've got a squad of 9 or 10, and then the rest 2 or 3 more go, oh, if we're not going to have a team next year, then I won't play. And suddenly the 7 that really wanted to play, the decision's almost been made for them. The last thing they want to do is go on their own to another club 10 miles down the road and say, can I carry on playing?
Yeah.
It almost forces them to go, oh, I'll stop playing as well then.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And you spoke about as well the girls that are maybe didn't quite make it, dropped out for a few years, and then getting a bit older and want to come back. Is that a common trend? Do you see a lot of that throughout girls football?
I mean, personally, I have, but I think it's. I don't think enough ladies teams engage with those sort of players, and actually, it's getting them back in and maybe doing just play stuff for women, or just getting them back into playing football.
Yeah,
because I mean, a lot of people maybe played a bit of football at university, maybe didn't play anything, but actually want to get back into football in that sort of 20, 21-year-old age group. Yeah. So again, the opportunities are there in ladies teams, but there's less ladies teams. They're more spread out, and there's that little bit of, it's a brand new thing. Do I go along to a training session on my own because I haven't played before, but play for a long while rather?
Yeah.
But I mean, I've seen it in the team we've got now, but I don't think it's that common across a lot of clubs.
Okay. Yeah. And do you think that's down to just the players not being as motivated as maybe your players, or is the clubs not doing enough to reach out to them?
Yeah, I think it's a bit of both. Unfortunately, we play in the South East Counties Women's Football League. We play in the Kent Division 2 West. So we're pretty much at the bottom of the pyramid. The games are a good standard. So you have to be able to play to be able to play in that league.
Yeah.
But there's only sort of 15, 16 teams in Kent playing at that level. When you start moving up then, actually it's a really serious level of women's football.
Yeah.
So we're one of the few, that level at the bottom where we are is where you can actually come and play recreational football if you want to, you know what I mean? So you can come and you can have fun, you can enjoy it. You're not doing training sessions 3 times a week. You're not, being dropped because you had a bad game and all this sort of stuff. It might be if you wanted to get back into it at a certain level. So that getting back into it, playing regularly, but playing at a level that you're comfortable with, there's not that many opportunities, I don't think.
Okay. Yeah. Thinking about sort of the boys versus girls sort of aspect of coaching, what do you prefer, and what similarities and differences are there between coaching boys and girls?
I think session-wise, you have to plan the same, and I've always thought that. I read some really great books from some coaches in America who coached women's football over there, and one of the key messages came through was, don't treat them differently. You coach to the ability of the group that you've got.
Yeah.
I do some coaching for Bexley Council around the youth games, where we select the whole teams from the whole of the borough under 14s girls. Some of those players are in academies. Some of those are really good players, and the training sessions are a really high standard, and the coaching is. Other teams you coach, you have a mixed ability team, and you have to tailor your sessions to that. So, I don't think it changes your style too much. It's much more. There's more chatting. You get much more. You get a lot of. There's more of a social group, I think, outside of the coaching part. If that makes sense. So during a session, you've got to allow for that. That actually, it's more of a social gathering than it is for boys.
Yeah.
Boys will walk up and go hello, when they start playing football. Whereas, there's more of a social element around the girls' team and the women's team. So you've got to allow for that within your session and not sort of just discourage that. You've got to allow times within the session for that to happen as well. But in terms of the actual football and the technical stuff we do, I try and coach with the players you've got in front of you, rather whether they're boys or girls. Yeah.
Excellent. Great points there, mate. So throughout your time at Footscray, is there any sort of moments that stick out and you're quite proud of, or any fondest memories that you think you need to share?
Yeah, well, in terms of football memories, the best ones are always the ones when my kids were playing. Obviously, my son played for a long time, so I was coaching his team from sort of under 6 all the way through to 16 or 17. So, we won a couple of leagues, and I always remember the goals that he scored and the matches that, that he was in. So
yeah,
they're the best bits. And again, I think I had about 6 weeks off running a team when Tom stopped playing, and my daughter came back, and she was probably just in the last years of primary school. And she said, there's girls at school who want to play football. No one will take us. Can we start a team at Footscray? And then suddenly I was back into coaching another team that lasted another 10 years. But, we've heard the good memories of those long trips out down to Folkestone and all that stuff for away games in the car with a radio blasting, and watching her play and being able to be, obviously difficult being a coach of a player sometimes, but being able to be there for those games are the best bits.
Brilliant.
And and just in terms of sort of stuff, achievements with the club has been really, really good what we've managed to do in terms of the way we develop stuff. We really are a development club, and some of the stuff we've done for young coaches, we've got a referee scheme and a junior coaches scheme where we get our sort of 16, 17-year-olds, boys and girls, doing coaching with our young ones. And to see them sort of grow and blossom has been brilliant as well. Some of them are still coaching. Some of them have gone to the States and done coaching as well, and doing PE at university courses and stuff because they started coaching when they were 14, 15, 16 with us, which has been brilliant to see.
Yeah, that's fantastic. That and I think more clubs could be doing stuff like that where they get their young players involved in coaching and refereeing just to get a taste of what else is about.
Yeah, I mean, I'm so keen on that. To be honest with you, I see lots of clubs advertising, "Oh, we need a coach," or we never get any referees," and they've got a team full of sort of 15, 16. They've got under 15s, under 16s, under 17s, under 18s, boys and girls.
Yeah,
All these kids that want to do stuff, they want to, they just need a bit of support and a bit of backing to get their coaching done. And you've got loads of young teams that need coaches, and you've got loads of mini soccer teams that need referees every week, rather than mums and dads having to do it. But yeah, you invest a little bit back into the youngsters you've got, rather than just giving them football twice a week and then not talking to them. Actually, you'll find if you ask, loads of them are really keen to volunteer and do stuff. So yeah, there's definitely scope for clubs to get involved with that.
Couldn't agree more, mate. Couldn't agree more. We're going to move on now slightly to your sort of journey or your time at the Kent Girls and Ladies Football League. So how did that come about, becoming a secretary?
I'm too stupid to say no, is the honest answer. So there's a guy who's the chairman of Kent Girls League called Lee Willis, famously very persuasive, lovely bloke. But once he starts chatting to you, you realise that you've volunteered for something for the end of the conversation. So yeah, they needed someone. I said I'd come and obviously help on the committee and stuff and do bits and pieces. Sort of work I do anyways. I'm sort of business manager at work, and it's kind of organisations and that sort of stuff. So yeah, I said I'd come along and help, and then obviously whatever it is, 7 or 8 years later, I'm still doing it. So
yeah. And I often have this chat with coaches where we talk about how much coaching takes up their free time and stuff like that. But you being a coach at Footscray and a league secretary for quite a big league, how much time does that take up? Because that must be monstrous.
Yeah, it's a lot of time. It tends to be sort of a bit late night at the computer, really, the league secretary stuff. So it's not so hands-on. It's all online and stuff. And we've got a really great team as well. We run the league. We've got admin officers, welfare officers. Myself and Lee, secretary. Deputy chairman. We've got a great group of sort of 8 or 9 people that run it. So once it's up and running and you get through the sort of the hard parts of the season, there's little peaks where you have to do the whole fixtures and you have to get teams registered at the beginning, which is a little bit of a burning a midnight oil and doing a bit of tapping away at the computer in the middle of the night. But once it's up and running, then just got to deal with the few rogue coaches and parents out there that want to cause you trouble. But mostly once the football started, then it's pretty good. So that's what I keep telling myself anyway, even though do I tell my wife as well.
Do you find yourself under more stress with it? Is there any stressful moments within it, dealing with coaches or teams or as such?
No, I think to be fair, most people are pretty reasonable. Obviously, you get occasional, and again, because you're behind a computer screen, it's not, it's not as bad as it could be. People will email with either ridiculous questions or, ranting and raving because, their team didn't get exactly what they wanted on Sunday and it wasn't fair and the referee should have given a penalty and they should have won 1-0 and, all this normal sort of stuff that you get through. And obviously you get serious problems as well. The girls' football is not all comes out smelling roses every week. There's still touchline problems. There's still all sorts of problems that go with grassroots football, unfortunately, you've got to deal with. So, that can be a little bit tricky and a little bit difficult to read when you hear about what happens on touchline sometimes. But it doesn't normally involve the players. It's normally the adults around them that cause the grief, as I'm sure you know. But no, it's not massively stressful. I must admit that it's good to have a good group of people who want to be progressive as well. That's the key point. The way the leagues run is we're trying to do innovative things and trying to do stuff that's promoting girls' football. So that's why we're all in it for.
Yeah, certainly. Just to sort of give myself and maybe the viewers at home a bit more knowledge, is there any other girls' leagues around that are sort of competing with the Kent Girls and Ladies Football League?
Yeah, we are the biggest girls' league in the country, apparently, with a number of teams. So we've Kent is pretty much down to us. Obviously, the London FA run the Capital Girls League, which is mostly Saturdays and festivals. There's an Essex League, and Surrey have got leagues as well. So there is a little bit of crossover. I know Tandridge are starting some stuff up for girls football as well, which is great. I mean, we've got no problems with that. Tandridge, we talk to guys there as well, and it's great that they're doing stuff for teams in their area, and we're not precious about where we have borders and stuff, but we're trying to grow. Whoever grows the game is great, but in terms of Kent, then it causes us a little bit of grief sometimes because we have got such a sort of scope, Bromley to Folkestone, so to deal with. But we are. There's no one really else around covering Kent.
Yeah. The other thing I noticed is that quite a lot of the leagues and the fixtures and stuff like that are a lot more far stretched out, and you can be travelling some distances on a Sunday. Do you think that's down to the, like we said earlier, the lack of girls teams that may be about in certain areas?
Yeah, it's almost a conscious decision we made. We sort of been talking to people over the years as well. We do, from when we start off in under 9s up to under 11s, we do East and West and Central, so that when you're at that young age, you're playing. But we found a lot when you get to 12s, 13s, they're at secondary school basically, and obviously by that stage you've worked out who the good teams are and who the not so good teams are. Yeah. And from a player point of view and from a coach's point of view, we found out that really when they get to that age, they want to be playing in divisions.
Yeah.
So if we still had East and West, under 12s, under 13s, you might only have to travel 20 minutes down the road, but you'd be beating someone 12-0 or losing 12-0.
Yeah.
When actually we found from a player's point of view and coaches as well, that they'd rather travel a bit longer and be in a competitive league where you go to a game, you might win, you might lose, you might draw. You're actually playing in your right level, especially under 12s now. We've got 3 divisions at 12s, 13s and 14s. So actually you can find a place that's right for you in terms of your ability for that team, even if it means a bit more travelling. Yeah. Obviously it tends to be the parents that are not wildly enthusiastic about going to Folkestone or coming from Folkestone to Petswood on a Sunday morning or wherever it might be. But I think in terms of the games, I mean, that's certainly always the feedback I've got from my daughter and the players that I played with, is that actually, while winning 10-0 every week starts off being fun, it's a bit boring in the end. And certainly losing 10-0 every week is no fun. Yeah. You'd rather go to a game and go, right, don't know what's going to happen in this game. We might draw, we might win, whatever, it's going to be exciting. And it's definitely better for the progression of the players as well than it is just being sorted by geography and then not necessarily being able to play teams at your own level.
Yeah, and how hard is that, or is it easy deciding the leagues and sort of trying to weigh up the abilities of the teams?
Yeah, so that under 12s is the hardest bit, because obviously under 11s, they're still playing development games, but we do have sort of autumn and spring shields, so we got, which effectively are competitive within that age group. Yeah. So we can see an idea of what's going on at under 11s, and then try and put them in leagues 1, 2 and 3 under 12. We try and give, effectively, we'll propose the leagues and put that out to the clubs. Yeah. And then clubs can come back to us and say, do you know what, we're really not a League 1 team. We want to be in League 2. And then there's a bit of shuffling about going on. And teams evolve as well. You lose a couple of players and suddenly you don't feel like you want to be in League 1 anymore. Yeah. So there is, in that first couple of years, under 12 and 13, there is a little bit of to-in and fro-in until you settle into where you should be with promotion and relegation after that.
Yeah, nice. And this is one thing that's always baffled me in girls football. I wonder if you're a bit more clued up on it than me, is the ruling of how they're sort of an age group behind the boys in terms of format and rules. Do you have any idea as to why?
Yeah, it's something we want to change quite quickly. I think, especially at the younger age groups, we want to try and get them aligned a little bit. It's sort of borne out a little bit from when the boys start. They tend to start. I mean, our coach at Footscray Lions, we do a Saturday club year ones, like 5 and 6 year olds, and they start then, and then they go straight at year 2 into an under 7s mini soccer team playing 5-a-side, and then they follow that pattern that the FA set out. Not necessarily in the last couple of years, but before that, we were finding that girls tended to start playing football in year 4 and 5 at primary school.
Okay.
And so clubs were starting up teams with maybe 4 or 5 or 6 players and not quite enough for 7-a-side.
Mm-hmm.
So we almost started them at 5-a-side when they were 8 and 9 years old. And then they were almost like that step different to the boys.
Yeah.
But I think going forward, and certainly something we're going to try and look at this season, if not next season, is now that explosion has happened at primary school age for girls, and there's loads more girls teams and there's more girls playing football, which is absolutely brilliant. Then we can actually start them off at 7-a-side and start them off in line with what the boys do, because when clubs start new teams now, they've got the numbers. I mean, we started an under 10s and under 11s last year at Footscray, and we got so many in the under 11 group that we're going to have 2 teams next year under 11s, because they just keep coming along. Whereas 5 or 6 years ago, clubs were starting teams, but they may have not had enough to play 7v7 or 9v9 in line with the boys. So that's why the formats were a little bit behind. But yeah, certainly the time's coming now to align that, and that's definitely something we're looking at.
Okay, nice. And just adding to the format part, once they get a bit older and it's time for them to go to 11-a-side, the girls they have that rule where they're sort of, it's either 11 or 9 depending on agreement between managers and stuff like that. Is that a rule that the league have set out, or is it the FA, and why does it happen?
It's the world's most confusing rule, but everyone loves it or hates it. It was actually something that originated from grassroots football with us and other leagues as well. In that originally the FA said at the start of the season, you either had to designate your division, so under 15s League 1, you've either had to be a 9v9 division or an 11v11 division. Once you start at the beginning of the season, can't change your mind. So if you set that under 15s league up as 11v11, as soon as teams started losing a couple of players that we talked about before, that typical age group, then the team just folded. So we tried to set up a format, and the FA picked it up as well. And so it is an FA initiative that runs across all the leagues now. Sort of flexible format that you can opt in and out to play 9v9 and 11v11. The best part about it is it keeps teams going. Okay. So you actually have got enough teams to make a genuine league. The worst part about it is for the teams that are either, because they're really popular or they're well organised and they're well run, and they've got 14, 15, 16 people in their squad, it can be really annoying to then have to play 9v9.
Yeah.
And we appreciate that. The flip side is that if everyone had to go 11v11, then those teams might only have 6 teams to play against all season.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a balance between those two things. But again, going back to what we were just saying before, I'm really hopeful that the peak that we've seen of girls playing primary school in the last few years will mean that in a couple of years' time, the teams that come into the 13s, 14s will have bigger squads, and we can just go straight to 11v11.
Yeah. And
the 9v9 rule sort of won't be there. But even in some of the ladies' football and the older one, that 9v9 option is still sort of floating around just to get people playing is the main thing.
Okay.
Last one more little thing on that, so I'm going to interrupt you.
Go on.
The thing that's changed last season that some people have not quite got yet is that even if you opted to play 9v9, if you turn up on a Sunday and you've got 12 and they've got 12 or more, then you have to play 11v11.
Okay.
So it's a little bit more flexible than that. So we want to get as many girls on the pitch as possible. Yeah. And sort of trying to help those teams that, like you say, have got 4 or 5 subs and then they're suddenly playing 9v9 and they got, girls sitting on the touchline and not getting much game time. So it's a balancing act, but hopefully it means that more teams survive and carry on playing. Yeah.
No, good points you bring up there. Good arguments for it. I was always a bit baffled, but I'm definitely more educated on it now. You spoke about the sort of rising popularity of girls in primary school ages and stuff like that. How far off do you think we are until we see a season where the girls are roughly sort of on par or on a level with the popularity of the boys?
Difficult one. I think we're a little bit away from that still.
Yeah.
But I think we'll never have the same amount of teams, but certainly I think the teams that we have got and the clubs that we have got are getting stronger and stronger. So that's the most important thing for me, is that we're not getting sort of half teams, if that makes sense. So every time now that we see new teams come in, they're getting the right numbers in.
Yeah.
So before, when I first started coaching girls football and when I was first involved in the league, you'd hear about teams coming and going. So they'd start up, got sort of 5 or 6 girls, and then never managed to push on to get themselves a full squad, play 1 or 2 games, play a few games with a few numbers, and then they disappear off the radar.
Yeah.
But now the teams that are in are much stronger. I think that's the first stage, effectively, especially at that, we said about that primary school age group. The clubs and the teams that are getting involved now are here for long term and to stay. I don't think we're ever going to have a sort of a Cell Kent situation where we've got 850 teams or whatever. But, with every, A, B, C, D, E divisions across, every single age group. But the fact that we've got 3 divisions in 12s, 13s, 14s and 15s at the moment is obviously brilliant compared to where it used to be. We had 100 teams when I started in the girls' league. We've got 240 teams this season. So
excellent.
Hopefully it just gets bigger and bigger.
Yeah, definitely. Going to finish off on quite a nice thought here. By the time you sort of leave the sport or take a step back, what would you like to accomplish, whether that be in the league or as a coach? What would you like to accomplish?
Good question. I've thought about it a little bit. Obviously, I think in terms of girls football and what we do with the league, I want it to be on the same playing field as the boys. So I want it to be treated the same as well. If that makes sense. There's still a lot of clubs that start girls teams or take girls teams from other clubs because they feel like they have to tick a box.
Right. Yeah.
For their community status, they have to have a girls team. They have to have a girls football session.
Yeah.
And then the girls get the late kickoffs. The girls get, don't get exactly the same thing. I've seen that a few times and talked to people where they sort of, the club just doesn't treat them the same as the boys. So it's just getting that equal amount of, if we can still promote it, we can talk to clubs and convince them that actually starting girls football is a great idea, first of all.
Yeah. And
then you have to work on it quite hard at the beginning to get coaches in and volunteers in and get the girls playing. But once they're in, then hopefully in my own club, this is the way we treat it. We have, 21, 22 teams in the club. And whether you're the under 10 girls or the under 10 boys, you get treated exactly the same. You get the same kickoff times. You get the same access, to your coaches go on the same courses. Everyone gets treated the same. And it's just, that would be the key part for the girls, is to make sure that the clubs get educated as well. The Kent FA are really good. They treat obviously girls football really seriously and they've got a lot of support from them. But it's just making sure those clubs, for me, that's the work that's still got left to do, really, and we'd like to achieve, is to make sure that it's on the same footing and treated the same way. And treated seriously as well. I still get, classic, being the secretary, I get the classic ones where managers come up to me at the end of the game. If I'm coaching, I coach the under 10 girls team at Footscray sometimes and look after them on a Sunday morning. And they'll come up to me and go, "Oh, we don't need to do match cards and stuff, do we, mate? Don't need to do that." It's only a girls' game, isn't it? Who's going to ref? I'm like, well, unfortunately, I'm secretary of the league, so you're going to have to get your match cards out and you're going to have to do it.
Red-handed.
Yeah, but it's especially at 12s, 13s, under 16s, and under 18s. It's a competitive football match, and they're winning championships. They're playing for cups. It's not just it's girls' football. It doesn't matter. Give them the same pitches, the same kickoff time as the boys, because they're, if you're in a club, your under 16 girls match where they need a win to win the league is just as important as the boys match that's going on.
Certainly. And on that note, thank you so much, Mike, for coming on. It's been a great insight and certainly educational for me, hopefully for everyone at home as well, to get a little bit more detail on the girls' game. So thank you. Guys, if you enjoyed it today, please give it a like, subscribe if you want to see more like this. And it will definitely get you back on for more issues, more topics coming up. But yeah, thank you for coming on. And we'll see you later, everyone. Stay safe.